Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going over tomorrow's early MLB main slate for today on DraftKings. Before we continue though, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. We're getting pretty close to 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate all of you that contributed to that. And anyway, I did post my MLB main slate for the one at 7 o'clock. I already posted that with my cheat sheet and full breakdown, so I'd recommend checking that out after you watch this if you haven't already. And anyway, let's get into it. And like I said, I can't do two models, so I'm just going to go over the plate IQ numbers for the early slate. So for the early slate, pitching is absolutely terrible. There's not one pitcher I am confident in, which I hate just telling you guys that straight up, but it's just honest. There's not one pitcher I really like besides maybe Plesac, and really the best pitcher the best pitcher on the slate's probably, well, I'm not, first of all, I'm not paying 10,000 for Chirinos. I think that's just silly. And then so I would say Lance Lynn's our next option, but I really don't want to play someone against Boston, but I feel like that's our only option if we want to get a decent, let me just fix this really quick. If we want a decent arm, I mean, Lance Lynn hasn't been terrible. He does have a decent strikeout rate, which is what I'm kind of liking at 24. It's sitting at 25%, really. He's not giving up a ton of power at all. I mean, he's been pretty good versus lefties, a little bit worse versus righties, but the K rate versus righties is a lot better, and so is the walk rate. He's giving up some hard contact, but really, this slate is tough for pitching. So I don't mind Lance Lynn. I do think there is some upside there if he can just catch the Boston bats on a bad day. I mean, there are some decent strikeouts in that lineup, like Chavez, Holt, Jackie Bradley, and Benintendi, really, but it's a tough matchup for sure. I mean, if you want to spend 10K for Chirinos versus Oakland, I guess it's not actually terrible. He's coming off a pretty good game, but I just feel like I don't want to pay that much for Chirinos. A guy like him, he's not worth it. And then I was thinking about Porcello because, Joey Gallo's gone, so it's a hit to their lineup because, Porcello's not very good versus lefties, but there's still a decent amount of lefties in here, like Shin-Soo Choo, Dane Santana, Mazzara, Cabrera, Dor, Guzman. And I don't trust Porcello versus lefties. And so I'm not really sure where to go with pitcher. Although I do like, I think Plesac's gonna be my favorite. It's SP2. I do feel pretty decently confident versus him. The Reds aren't too intimidating of a lineup, and he's been pretty decent ever since he's been called up. So I don't mind going with Plesac as your SP2. He's pretty affordable at 7,400 as well. And I do think the Indians will get him the win. I do like the Indians a lot today. The bats, I should say. So let's get into the stacks and bats, something I'm a little bit more comfortable with on this slate because that pitching is kind of all over the place. I think you're going to have to just pick an SP1 and just hope for the best there. Or you could just full on punt it and go straight up bats, which might be a decent option as well. I know Brett Anderson going up against the Rays, who strike out a lot versus lefties, but the problem is Brett Anderson cannot strike guys out, so it's tough. So I would understand if you want to punt just both pitching options and completely stack your bats. That might be what a lot of people do, so you might actually not be too risky anyway. So just some things to think about. But let's go to the stacks. That's a little bit more fun for this slate. So first of all, let's talk about the Rockies going against Cole Hamels. Now, Cole Hamels, he's a good pitcher. He's not a scrub or anything, but this is Coors Fields, so kind of always downgrade your skill. So guys, I want the righties here versus Hamels. We're going to stay away from the lefties, but Trevor Story stands out. Although this year, he's not hitting lefties too well this year, but if you look over the course of his entire career, pretty darn good versus lefties. So I'm going to side with that. This should even out. Definitely like Trevor Story. Nolan Arenado's probably the top play in this slate. Anytime he's playing a lefty in Coors, he's always pretty much the top play. I mean, he might not be the very top play just based off of price and whatnot. And Cole Hamels is still a decent pitcher. But I do like Arenado a ton. As you can see, pretty much a 400 ISO versus lefties so far this season. Low strikeout rate, high walk rate. Just elite numbers all around. So definitely like Nolan Arenado. I know that's nothing you guys don't know already, but just saying. And Ian Desmond, he's been doing pretty good versus lefties this year with over a 313 ISO, so I don't mind him either. Then Chris Iannetta at catcher is fine as well. And then let's go to the Cubs side, which is the side I prefer if you had to pick one of them. Love all the Cubs versus Senzatella. He's just not a good pitcher. I mean, he's only got a 12.5% strikeout rate, which is abysmal. 5.08 xFIP, which is terrible, and just tons of hard contact, especially to the lefties. Somewhat decent versus righties. Still not the best, but The lefties are definitely getting to him, and we have some really good lefty options from this Cubs team, but I wouldn't shy away from the righties either. So Kyle Schwarber, he's my number one play in the slate, just if you factor in price in the matchup. So definitely Kyle Schwarber at 5,000. I think he's an excellent play. Anthony Rizzo, he's super expensive, but if you can afford him, obviously one of the top plays. Carlos Gonzalez, I know the numbers aren't good, but that's baked in his price at 3,300. He's hitting in the middle of the lineup, and he's sold team, so definitely love Cargo. He's probably going to be the chalkiest bat in the slate, deservedly so. And then Jason Hayward would be interesting as well. And like I said, I wouldn't leave off the righties either if you're going to full stack them. Then the other team I like are the Indians, and specifically their lefties going against DeSclafani. I know DeSclafani's been a little bit better this year. He's been pretty good versus righties, but when it comes to the lefties, just like last year, he really struggles with that. So he hasn't fixed that, and we love the lefties. And the thing about the Indians is they have a ton of lefties, so I think it's a great matchup for them. So Francisco Lindor, he's the number one play for the Indians. I know he's expensive, but he absolutely crushes right-handed pitching. And Carlos Santana, he's a fantastic play as well. He's been great for the Indians. Actually has the most power on the team versus righties so far this season. Jason Kipnis, the numbers don't stand out from a power standpoint, but he's got decent numbers. Low strikeout rate and a high walk rate versus righties, so I don't mind him. And he's very cheap, and he's projected to clean up, so don't mind that. And then Jose Ramirez, the guy has been absolutely trash this year, but at 3,500, he's very interesting, hitting fifth. And then Jake Bauers, I don't mind either, or Leonys Martin. And then actually, I will say Tyler Naquin was hitting cleanup today, so they actually might move Naquin to the cleanup position. And if they do, I think that's an interesting spot as well. All right, guys, that's all I have for the stacks. And I know it's a short video, but I'm not really a big fan of the slate. But this is where I would go if I am playing it. And then the core plays for me are going to be Kyle Schwarber at 5K, Cargo at 3,300, and then I like J-Ram and Kipnis at 35 and 3K. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for the video. Sorry, it's not a normal cheat sheet video, but like I said, I don't have time to do the two cheat sheets. But if you are going to be playing the main slate tonight, I'd recommend checking out the cheat sheet video, which would be right here. So just a little preview if you haven't watched it yet. Anyway, guys, like I said, remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that, and good luck tomorrow.